Okay, once again, good afternoon to all. This small presentation was organized just to make you understand what actually happens at the site. Uh, so, in this presentation, having spent 4 years with books, so I want you to get an idea of what will happen, what you will be facing in the future. Many of your IT friends may go and work in AC offices, but many of you may be fortunate not to end up in AC offices and spend 4 years in sites under sun and rain, maybe. I don't know if you are happy with that or not. Then, compared to other fields, civil engineering requires some amount of experience, no matter whether it is site, estimation, or design, whichever part of civil engineering you go. Apart from knowledge, you need some experience. Knowledge is different and experience is different. Knowledge is something which you may get from books by reading or looking at some videos, but experience is something which you have to do and get. So I'll try to share my experiences here. It's not that I'm an expert and all. Just whatever I have learned in these many years after having passed out, I'll be sharing with you. I think this may help you to start up with if you go on site so that you don't end up being a zero on site. These are very basic these things, very basic what you say ideas or concepts. I think you require it if you don't know. So the first question I want to ask here is I don't know you may reply or not. Who are all the stakeholders in this construction industry? Who is the most important stakeholder? Stakeholder means who are all involved in the construction process. Who do you think is a more first important stakeholder? Yes, many are saying laborers, site engineers. Okay, many are saying laborers. Only one person has said Kamdar. Kamdar is right actually. He has told a client. Correct? Why client is important? Okay, these are all our stakeholders, but as you can see, client is the first one. So why do you think I am presenting client as a first stakeholder? Client is an important stakeholder because he is basically the owner. Correct? He is the one who is going to finance the construction activity. So if we don't have money, all other our labors will not come, site engineer will not come, we will not have land, anything. Getting so client is our basic and the first most important stakeholder. So then comes architects. So as you know, it is a separate branch actually. B Arc is a degree they have, and M Arc is a master's degree. So basically, architects are experts in planning the space in a building. Space utilization is what they focus on. These architects will basically interact with client. Correct? Client will be giving them requirements, and on that requirement basis, he will be planning. Depending on the site area, he will be planning the buildings. Next comes consultants. So, which all consultants you know? What are all the types of consultants? TCE, Darshil, you are telling what you are telling consultancy services companies. I'm not in companies. Which all consultants in the sense? Which all experts you need? Consultant is nothing but a expert. So basically, in civil engineering industry, we have few consultants. To name them, first one you need is structural consultant. Correct? Structural consultant will be giving you the structural drawings. Next comes geotechnical consultant, and next comes. So what exactly geotechnical consultant does? Can anybody just tell me geotechnical consultant? Geology is different and geotechnical is different. It's not regarding water actually. Geotechnical means geotechnical lab. What you have done? What do you deal with in geotechnical lab? Basically, the parameter which we need from geotechnical consultant is something called as SBC. What is that SBC? Many of you are not replying and not interacting. I don't know why. It is better if we have an interactive session. If I go on speaking and you don't reply, I don't know if you are sleeping or what. It's afternoon session, so I request everybody to interact, whether it is right or wrong. Not everyone is right. Even I may be wrong many times. So I want everyone to interact through chat. It may not be possible to hear everyone. You can text. I'm looking at the text now. So as many of you are saying, SBC is nothing but safe bearing capacity. What is the safe bearing capacity? Is my voice clear? Yes, please.
Sir, it is clear.
Yeah, I think many of you may be having net connectivity issue. I'm sorry for that. So I will continue. So as you can see from the chart, SBC is nothing but safe bearing capacity. Safe bearing capacity is nothing but how much of the load that the soil can take per meter square. Correct? We usually donate SBC in terms of 18 tons per meter square or 180 kilonewton per meter square. So for 1 meter square of soil, how much the load can resist? This Vishal is right actually. So next comes geological consultant. Like we have V.S. Hegde sir. He is a geological expert. He will tell you exactly where to put a bore, water source. You may be exactly able to locate that. And anybody else can tell me which is the latest trend now going on. Who is the most earning consultant in construction activities, especially residential? Anybody? You might have seen or heard on TVs and all that. Usually these three consultants will not come on TV, structural, geotechnical, geological or any other consultant. But one consultant you will regularly see on TV. Who is that? Can anybody guess? Can anybody guess who is the consultant you will regularly see on your television sets? No, structural engineers you will not see on TV. It is basically Vastu consultant. Have you heard of Vastu? Vastu consultants you will see regularly on TV. Correct? Have you heard Vastu? Something about Vastu? Yeah, he's you might have seen on TVs. Correct? You might have seen on TV. He is the one who is everybody behind. Everybody wants to do the residential buildings as per Vastu and all. So they charge a hefty price. So I will be talking about it later. Next comes our next. Who is the next stakeholder? Civil engineers. So what do you think civil engineer does in all of this? We have gone through client. Client is the one who provides the land, provides the money. Architect is the one who will plan. Structural engineer is the person who will give us structural drawings as per the plan. Then what do you think the civil engineer will do? All of you will do. Design the structure. Actually, designing the structure is done by structural consultant. So civil engineer will not design the structure, but civil engineer by profession is actually only for construction purpose. Correct? Civil engineer by profession is actually related only to construction. I hope I am clear. Client is the one who will provide land and will provide your money. Architects, you will plan the building. Plan in the sense where all the rooms, sizes of the rooms and interiors and all he will be doing. Consultants will give you the structural drawings, will show you the bore point and all those things. Civil engineer will construct as per the plan provided by the architects and as per the structural drawings provided by the civil engineer. Then comes municipal corporation. So how do you think these municipal corporations are involved in construction activities? Are they related? It is your land, it is your money. So why do you think municipal corporation is required? Yes, like many of you are saying, it is basically permission. So it is you that you will be, as a civil engineer, you will be applying for building permission. Why this building permission is required? Why I can't go ahead with whatever plan I have? Yes, many of you are not replying. Yes, basically, municipal corporations will tell you the rules and regulations. Will basically tell you the rules and regulations for construction activities. So we'll be dealing with it in the detail in further slides. Next comes suppliers. As you know, suppliers are the integral part of construction activities. Any problem with the suppliers will hamper your activities on the site. Next comes, as many of you told in the earlier question, laborers again are the major stakeholders. Without them, we can't do any work. So latest nowadays, you might have heard something called as PMC. Correct? Heard? PMC is nothing but project management consultants. The important thing to note here is that this is applicable only in case of very huge projects. Very huge projects in the sense like close together of projects where your owner may or may not be on the site, will not be able to come on the site. So if you are a contractor, what the owner will do is he will place a middle person who will check your construction activities. This PMC is nothing but a person in the middle. He will report to owner also, and he will get the activities. He will check the activities done by the contractor also. I hope I am clear what is PMC, project management consultant. He will manage the project remotely. That is, you are the contractor, you will be doing the construction activities. He will check whether you are doing it right or not, and then he will report to the owner. Yes, I hope all the stakeholders are clear. Any other stakeholders, if you can name me, I'll be happy to know. Any other stakeholder, anybody else involved in the construction process, if you are able to tell, I'll be happy. These are the one I think are important. So anybody else, if you suggest anything, then it's good. So as we saw, client is basically the owner who will provide you land and money. So client may be different types now. Nowadays, what is happening is, in case of small residential buildings, you will find only a single owner. But what happens in case of huge buildings like what do you say, apartments and all, you will have something called as joint ventures. Joint ventures means the land will belong to somebody, it will be constructed by somebody else, and again there may be some type of external investors. This is called as joint venture. The joint venture, again, it is a separate subject on its own. So apart from being a single individual owners, we are having this type of separate clients. He will give provide requirements. What I mean by requirements is whether you want a single 1 BHK house, 2 BHK house, whether you want a penthouse. This kind of requirements you will be giving it to the architects. From this, architects will be preparing his plan. So as I told, he will be funding the project. So next comes architects. He will again prepare plan according to your requirements and according to your area available. He will prepare 3D elevations and also give you internal design. In many cases, architects will provide you something called as plumbing layouts, electrical layouts, and other interior designs. These plumbing and electrical layouts are nothing but the way the electrical conduits and the way plumbing pipes should be laid in the buildings. So in some very important structures, so you will be getting these drawings, plumbing and electrical layouts. Next comes structural consultants. These basically structural consultant, what he will do is he will take the plan from the architect. Then what he will do is he will place columns and beams. He will be doing this in conjunction with the architect. So you will be contacting the architect. You will be doing as per the architect's requirement. Architect is a major decision maker here because everything depends on aesthetics of the building, and he is responsible for the aesthetics of the building. By aesthetics, I mean looks of the building, because ultimately what we see from outside is very important than what you have put inside the building. So what you will do is you will place the columns and beams, and then you will get the approval from the architect whether the columns and beams I have placed will create any problem to your aesthetics. This type of interaction will go on between structural and architect consultant. If the architect is satisfied with the column and beam layout, and if it is not coming in or affecting his aesthetics, then you will give approval. Then you will design and analyze as per the use of the building. By use of the building, I mean whether it is residential, industrial, or any other type of buildings. Audio is clear. Again, many of you are saying audio is not clear, or am I going faster?
Sir, please explain slowly.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Just let us go to
Let them interact.
next stakeholder, that is municipal corporation. So in case of municipal corporation, we have something called as consultancy or consultant license. To construct any building in a given municipal area, that is town, you need to acquire a license from the this municipal corporation. This you will be getting after your completion of the degree. If you are attaching your degrees and other required documents, you will be getting your license. This is a basic requirement and it should be done. Without license, you are not allowed to do any construction activities in the city limits. Correct? Next one, this municipal corporation will put some regulations for construction activity, and these are called as bylaws. Correct? In the right side here you can see these are front and back setbacks. So this is depth according to the depth, and this is again in according to width. So as you can see here, this is as per the different sizes of the plotter. So 60 by 40, all this 30 by 40, what we say usually is in terms of feet. But whereas in this table you can see it is as per the meters. So 30 by 40, if I say, usually 30 feet will be along the width and 40 feet will be along the depth. I hope you are getting my words. The dimension parallel to the road, please listen carefully. The dimension parallel to the road is your width. The dimension perpendicular to the road is your depth. I am repeating again if it is not clear. The dimension parallel to the road is your width. The dimension perpendicular to the road is your depth. So next comes this setback. Let us take 30 feet. Let us take 30 feet plot width. So if I come here and see 30 feet, if I convert it to meters, it comes around 9 point something, 9.15 something. So it will come in the range of 9 to 12. So if this is my width of the site in meters, then at the left side I have to leave 1 meter, on the right side I have to leave 1.5 meter. If it is residential, if it is commercial, left 1, again right 1.5. So how this right and left is, from inside you have to stand inside the site and look at the road. From inside you have to see. From inside you have to look at the road. The right side will be your right setback. Left side will be your left setback. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm looking at the chat. If you have any questions, please ask. Yes, how many of you are able to understand what I'm telling? Is it clear what I'm telling, or what I am telling is really very basic. Some of you may know, some of you may don't know. Yes, many of you are not replying. I see some 30 odd participants here, but none of you are replying. Hardly through 2 or 3 people are replying. I request everybody to be active. Yes, shall we continue? Many of you are asking some questions which I think these are not relevant here. I'll be explaining them in a later session, sir. So next one we'll continue. Width, as I said, is parallel to the road. Depth is something which is perpendicular to the road. So as I said, 30 feet, if I divide it by 3.28, the conversion factor, 30 by 3.28 will give me 9.15. So as I said, you will be leaving here 1 meter on the left and right 1.5 meter. 1 meter means approximately 3 feet and right 1.5 means approximately 5 feet. So similarly, according to, if I come to depth, so if I divide 40 by 3.28, it comes around 12.2. So 12.2 comes in this range, over 12 and up to 18 meters. So front I have to leave around 2 meters, back around I have to leave around 1.5 meters. So 2 meters approximately comes up to 6.5 feet. So back it comes around 5 feet. So these are the type of regulations which are fixed by municipal corporation. And can anybody tell me why these setbacks are required? Okay, these, yeah, as you can see, it will waste your what you say, it will waste your area. The setbacks will waste your area because your room sizes will be less. So why do you think these setbacks are compulsory? Yes, Muhammad Ali Punekar actually is right. The floor area that is
For permission of CC.
yeah. Abdul Saunur is practical, being practical. It is required for CC, or right, but if I don't want, in case I don't want CC, what about setbacks? And if I don't want CC, I can avoid setbacks. The setback is actually basic requirement in terms of your sunlight and air, fresh air. If you can see two adjacent buildings whose slabs are almost joined, you will see those people have to use lights in even in daytime. I hope everyone is getting. If you see two buildings, almost the slab will be joined, correct? So in those cases, the rooms in those houses will not have any light or fresh air. Getting? So what these setbacks will do is, setbacks will ensure that you are having proper sunlight and air all the times. But in case if you are not interested in setbacks, you can always avoid, and there may be some penalties and all. We will not discuss into that aspect. Next comes basically municipal corporation will check the owner's land records, owner's details, whether he has paid tax or not. Then he will check whether the floor area ratio. Can anybody tell me what is floor area ratio? You might have, I hope you have heard this, floor area ratio. Floor area ratio. Can anybody tell me what is the floor area ratio of Hubli Dharwad residential buildings? Floor area ratio. Yes, Sanjeevani is actually right. It is the ratio of total built up area, that is building floor area, built up area divided by total site area. I hope it is clear. Floor area ratio is basically total built up area divided by total site area. This presently is 1.5. This presently in Hubli Dharwad case is 1.5 for residential buildings and 1.75 for commercial buildings. I hope it is clear. Floor area ratio, it is very important aspect actually. So if this crosses 1.5, then again there will be problem with your CC. Again and again I am CC. Many of you may be not knowing. CC is something called as completion certificate, which is provided at the end of your construction activity. Next is Autoplan. It is a software introduced by Urban Development Authority, government, to check permission drawings. I hope it is clear. Yes, next comes role of civil engineers. So before starting any project, the first activity you have to do is site visit. Whether the owner has given you the project or not, just visit the site once, and what you say, it is a basic kind of survey that you will be doing. Whether it is a sloped one, whether it is a flat one, all those things you have to see. And the adjacent conditions, whether the site conditions in the adjacent side, whether it is constructed, whether it is free. If it is constructed, then you have to plan how, where to unload your material and all. If it is, if the area is open, you can always unload the material wherever you want. Then next comes your survey. Why do you think survey is important? Why I have written it as a second activity? Why do you think survey is important? Yes, many of you are again not replying. I hope you are not sleeping. Yes, Sanjeevni is saying line out, but line out I think comes at the later part. It is not part of the survey. Yes, Vishal Malapnavar is right. To get the actual informations of the site. As I told you, 30-40 is my site. But let us say adjacent people, that is neighboring people, have already constructed, and I am left with only 28 feet, which should have been 30 feet, correct? If my site size was 30 feet, but now I am on the site, I am getting only 28. Correct, because of the encroachment by adjacent or neighbors. So these things you have to survey. You will be finding out in survey before start of the project. Once you start the project, you can't do anything. If you find these discrepancies, you have to immediately report it to the owner. Owner has to take the decision whether to demolish those encroached area or to get along with it. Next comes your available resources. For example, in some places you may find some material cheaper. For example, near Saudati and all, you will be getting the foundation stones very cheaper. Whereas if the same thing comes here in Hubli Dharwad, it gets costlier because of the transporter. You have to identify which is the best and cheapest one in terms of cost, and also quality wise which is the resources which are available nearby. Next comes you have to take the plan from architect, and whatever happened between whatever the changes it might have gone, it should be finalized one. It is not that still in work. We can't start and say architect can still say it is still in work. The plan should be finalized both in terms of economically, and also from the client side. Economically, in the sense the client should have the amount of budget which is designed by architect. If the architect is designing it for two or three floors, but the client is not having that much money, we can't take such projects. So you should always assess the client owner's economic condition also. Next, after you take plan, you have to take structural design from structural engineer. Why do we need structural designs from structural engineer? Why I can't just go ahead with plan provided by the architect? Why I need a structural engineer? Yes, everybody should reply. Huh? Yes, Mohammad Ali Punekar is present. Next. Many of you are not replying. Please ask if you have any doubts. Please ask. Let this be an interactive session. Correct, to check stability. Correct. Akash, strength. Strength of what, man? Stability and strength. Okay. Yes, ಭಾಳ ಮಂದಿ ರಿಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡೋಲ್ರಿ. Abdul Shawnur is not replying. Ajit, Annapurna, Arpita, Darshil replied once, now he is quiet. Manoj is not replying. Mansoor, Mubin Taj is not replying. Nanda, Pooja, Prachi, Radhika, Rashmi, Sohail is not replying. Sumant, Sushmita, Upeksha. Yes, most of you are saying that it is basically safety of the structure, safety and stability. So what the structural designs will do is, I can design a building actually without any structural knowledge also I can design. But what will happen is there will be always a kind of fear in me because I am not a structural engineer, correct? If I am not a structure, I am not having any structural information. Basically what these designs will do is, it will make your building economical, correct? So if let us say I had to provide a column of 9 inch by 15 inch. So how much will be 9 inch by 15 inch in terms of mm? Fast, huh? Everybody has to reply fast. Let us say who replies first. 9 inch by 15 inch, what is dimension in terms of mm? Fast. How much is 9 inch by 15 inch in terms of mm? Yes, nobody is replying. How much is 9 inch by 15 inch? Column dimension. Yes, for this you need to understand how much 1 inch is. Correct. So these type of basic informations you should have. So as you can see, many of you are right. 225 by 375, 380 mm. So actually it is, we actually take 288 Barangal rate, 230 mm. Correct, 230 mm by 380 mm. So what actually is 230 mm in terms of inch? It is basically 9 inch. What is that 9 inch? 9 inch is my wall thickness, sir. I hope everyone is getting. 9 inch is my wall thickness, sir, because my thickness of the brick is, one brick is 9 inch. So we align all these columns and beams in terms of the dimension of this column, which is 9 inches, so that it is not visible from the outside. I hope I am clear. So what I was basically trying to explain you is, if as a civil engineer, without any knowledge of structural engineering, if I am providing a column size of 9 inch by 15 inch, the structure may be safer. But what if 9 inch by 12 inch? Correct? What if instead of providing 230 by 380 mm of column, what if 230 by 300 column size was enough? I hope you are getting my point. As an engineer, you are providing 230 mm by 380 mm of column with 12 bars of 6 mm dia in the column. But what if 230 by 300 mm with 12 bars of 12 bars of in 6 numbers was enough? Correct? You would have saved the 3 inches of concrete, which again would have saved your owner's amount. Getting? If you are a contractor, then it would have saved your amount. I hope I am clear. So what this structural design will do is, it will take stability also into picture, and it will take the economical size of the sections also into picture. Correct? So as Bharat Shetty is saying, load failure, your structure engineer will check all the parameters and give the dimension as per the load which is coming on that column. He will not design it to fail. Correct? So what I am trying to basically saying is correct. Atul Joshi is correct. Your structure engineer will give you economical designs. Correct? Whatever is required, he will be giving you economical designs. So next one. So since basically I think I am a structural engineer, so I am talking a lot on structural design. So let us go to next one. So after getting these architects plans and structural designs, then as a civil engineer, as a site engineer, you have to check whether these two drawings are in conjunction with each other. So in the next sessions, when we deal with AutoCAD drawings, I will tell you how to match those column positions, how to match those beam positions and room dimensions. The room dimension which is provided by the architect, and in some cases, while the structural designer is designing, he might have assumed or he might have taken some confusions into picture, and the drawings might have changed in terms of dimensions. Drawings in rooms will remain same, dimension might have changed. So those things you have to just check. So as you are written, go through the drawings and check consistency in both drawings and report if anything which is not in order. You have to take both structural designer and as well as architect into picture. Then primary job is prepare estimate. You have to prepare an estimate as per the plans provided. Then you have to report or give the same to the owner. Next, as a construction activity start, you have to plan these activities well in advance. Correct? And you have to manage the site day by day. Managing site in nothing but arranging labors, arranging material, and also arranging different what do you say sequences. We call you have project management, I think subject and all. So sequencing you will be doing, that is running two activities simultaneously at a time. So that is what is important to get the project done as early as possible. So next, what do you think is a construction sequence? What is the first step after survey in construction process? Yes, please, everybody has to reply. Yes, one answer is line out. Then yes, what is the first step after excavation? Excavation, line out is right. Excavation is not a clearing ground. I have already done, man. Tell me technical things. Aju baju have. What is the first thing that you will do once your survey is done? Estimate is not related to site, man. It is related to something office work. Yes, Atul Joshi site soil test. Okay, soil test can be done. Then column placing. Column placing. How will you do, man? Column placing directly. Layout foundation. ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಏನಿದೆ layout foundation. Line out ಇರಬೇಕಲ್ಲ mostly. It may be line out. Soil cooler footing. Yes, to start with footing, I need to do something. Darshil is saying marking. ಏನು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡೋರಿ? ರಾಧಿಕಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಕವೇಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ನೀವು? You can't just start excavating like anywhere in the site. Yes, many of you are, as you are saying, it is first step is line out. Yes, many of you are done in your survey lab. The first step is line out after survey. So in the next coming classes, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I'll tell you how to prepare this line out drawing in the AutoCAD itself. Before going to site, how to prepare line out drawing according to a plan, how to place the columns, how to place the beams. So depending on that, you will be going with the same drawings on the site, and then you will be putting the line out. I will explain you the procedure of putting line out also, how to start with and all. I'll tell you, I had struggled a lot in my when I started, and I also have to admit I did my first line out wrong, even though the owner didn't tell me, or I don't know, he didn't curse me in front of me, but I had done my first line out wrong by 1 feet. I'll tell you how I committed the mistake. So it's all small things, but if you don't do it carefully, you'll go wrong. So next comes, after the line out, next comes excavation, next comes PCC bed. I'll be showing all these photographs. You'll be understanding in a much better way. PCC footing, column, then UCR masonry, then you'll be filling the soil till plinth beam bottom. Then again plinth beam you will be casting, then you will be again filling till plinth beam top. Brickwork, which is also called in local terms as bankam or ittangi work. Then lintel, brickwork, slab, electrical conduiting, plaster, plumbing, tiling, painting, window. Then apart from this building work, you will be having some auxiliary or miscellaneous works. That is, you will be having to prepare UG tank, underground water tank for storage, then septic tank, then your compound wall. So please tell me if you have any doubt till here, please ask. If you have any doubt, please ask. So in the next part, we'll go on to different this thing. Photographs will go. If you have any doubt till here, please ask. So I should see 30 numbers of no now. I am only seeing a couple of no. If anyone is having any doubt, please ask. If no, then at least let me know you are listening to me. Yes, only 12, 13, 15. Tiling, Vishal is asking what is tiling. Tiling is basically flooring. Flooring in the sense tiles you might have seen, flooring and walls. Annapurna is asking what is UCR for full form. UCR full form, you third semester building construction book ನೋಡಬೇಕ್ರಿ ಈಗ. ಪಟ್ನೆ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣ, ನೋಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ, ಬುಕ್ ನೋಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ ಪಟ್ನೆ. UCR ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ರಿ? Yes, can anybody tell what is UCR? Yes, correct. So I hope her doubt is clear. Now, what is that masonry? I will show you in terms of photographs. I hope everyone is active and listening. Let us next go to line order. So as you can see here, so what are these? Basically, these are markings of the footings. I hope it is clear. These are basically markings of the footings. You can see one small rod here. Can you see one small rod here where I have placed cursor? I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see one small rod here? And here, 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 and here. Correct? You can see some rods here. Is it clear? Still people are joining. I don't know why. Yes, I hope you are able to see these rods. I will tell you what these rods are basically. In coming classes, I will be telling you what are these rods. Here also you can see. I don't know whether it is clear to you or not. I think here 1, 2, and 3 are clear. These 3 are clear. I will be telling you what are these. Just note that. Just feel that these are at the center of this footing. Correct? Whatever the rod is placed, it is at the center of this footing. Correct? Understand this, remember this. I'll tell you what is that in the later classes. Correct? Next one. After line out, what happens? Yes, after line out, what happens? Next step. After line out, yes, next comes footing excavation. As you can see here, we are earlier seen marking. The white powder you can see here is nothing but your marking. According to this marking, this has been dug. As you can see here, the top layer is black soil. So we have black soil, as you know, is an expansive soil. So next comes this matti, we call it shale, I think in the English. Then comes this red soil. This red soil is also called as muram. It is basically a granular soil which has a very high bearing capacity. The size of this footing which you are seeing is 5 by 5, that is 5 feet by 5 feet, and 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter in terms of meters. So what this person is basically doing is he is putting PCC bed. This is called as PCC bed. It is basically a mix of black sand. Black sand, I don't know, you might have seen or not. It is mix of black soil and 40 mm size of aggregate. What we use basically in labs is 20 mm. What here we use is 40 mm. It is basically used to differentiate the layer between soil and your footing jali. On this you will be placing your footing jali, so you can't place that on directly on the soil. So it may rust or it may not be able to take the load evenly. Yes, Mohammad Ali Punekar is asking, when we don't get hard strata, you have to find hard strata, you have to go deep. If you are not finding it at 5 feet, you can go up to 10 feet also. Even then, if you are not finding, then you have to go for piles, placing piles. On that you will be placing footings. So next step after this footing and PCC, once this PCC is done, the next step is we have to place this columns. Are the photos clear? Yes, are these photos clear? Okay, what you can see here, one important thing what you have to see here is, can you see a plus mark here where I am showing you the cursor? You can see one cross line here and you can see one cross line here in this direction. Correct? Remember this plus mark, remember this, and you have to remember that rod also which we have seen in the line of drawing. Correct? This, yes, as Abdul is saying, it is basically center line. You are right, Abdul. It is basically center line of the this center, and this will be explained much better with line out drawings. I'll be telling you when I will be doing line out drawings. Just remember this. It is at a distance of 4.5 inch from this column end. As you can see, this column is outside of this center line, and from the center line outside of the column will be at 4.5 inches. So this you remember. I'll be telling you why this. And then in this photo, the major thing you have to look at this is, it is PCC is done, this mat is laid, this mat is laid at some cover. You can see some cover is being provided here. Yes, here you can see some stone. Stones are kept. Even if you can keep cover, it is also good. Around 40 mm to 50 mm of cover is required to get the concrete in between the PCC and the steel layer. So next comes your column. This column, again, as per the design of this, as per the design of your structure engineer, you will be providing this. So this is having 12 mm dia bars, 8 numbers. As you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are called as, what are these called? Stirrups. These are called as stirrups or ties. These in the column, these are called as stirrups or ties. Notary, correct, check notary whether it is called as stirrups or ties. The next one in this, what you have to notice in this drawing, you can see some shape here. This bar is not ending straight here. It is being cranked. It is being cranked here. As you can see, I hope everyone is able to see. The whole line you can see here, the whole line is cranked. The whole line is cranked. Yes, is everything clear? Please reply. Okay. Correct. Then you can see here, these column bars again are bent here. Correct. This column bar, let us follow. This column bar you can see is bent here. This again, this column bar is bent here. What this will do is basically provide stability to the column. This column will be a stable one. It will not tilt in any direction, because as you can see, we are providing we are making this table in this all the directions. So basically what we learned here is this center line, then this cranking of footing at the edges. This cranking of footing will basically stop the footing in case of lateral loads. Lateral loads means in case of earthquake or wind. So these are our covers. Then placing of columns. Then according to your drawings, you will be giving this longitudinal reinforcement. This 12 mm dia 8 bars is what is called as longitudinal reinforcement. So if any doubt, please ask. Here the diameter, I think 10 mm diameter at 150 mm center to center in each direction is given as footing reinforcement. If I remember correct, 10 mm diameter at 150 mm center to center is given in both the directions. Again, what all the these parameters for designing of yes, what are the parameters for designing of footing? 5th semester you have learnt. What are the parameters for designing of footing? Yes, Bharat is asking why do we need to bend at the end. So we need to bend at the end basically to stop sliding of the footing. In case of any lateral forces, that is earthquake and wind, lateral forces will be acting. That is why we need to bend at the bars at the end. Mohammad Ali Punekar is telling SPC. SPC is basically for determining the depth of the for basically determining the area of the footing. But we do 3 separate parameter check. That is one-way shear, two-way shear, and one more is bending moment consideration. I hope you remember 5th semester RCC, one-way shear, two-way shear and bending moment consideration. Those three are basically used to define our depth, decide our depth. So in this case, I think the depth is around 450 mm. So after concreting, you will be getting to know that. So let us go to next step. So this is how column erection takes place. I hope it is clear. So columns are erected to provide to stop it from bending. You can see there are some arrangements, local arrangements which are made at the site. It is called as munda. The wood projection that you see here, it is called as munda. It is being supported, and we perform something called as plumb check. Plumb check andre you will be leaving a abundant. I don't know many of you have seen or not. So you will be seeing a plumb check. Verticality of the column we have to check in this case. Is it clear? Erection of column. As per the design, you will be doing the erection of column. It's clear. We will move on to next one. An important thing that you have to note here is whatever is excavated, you can see everything is here stored in the nearby place itself. Correct? Everything is stored in the nearby place. So this will be requiring in the later stage. The brickwork what you see here is basically a RC tank, reinforced concrete tank. We will be looking at it at the later stage. So here in case of this column at the edge one, your right side one, you can see this column is almost touching the foundation of the next building. This column is almost touching the foundation of the other side of building. So what type of footing it is actually? Can anybody tell me the type of footing? What type of footing you have to place it there? Many of you are asking for zoom. No sir, it is not possible to zoom in this. In the L shape footing, trapezoidal, trapezoidal no. It is rectangular in shape. Yes, it is basically called as eccentric footing. Correct? Heard of eccentric footing? What all the other columns are? These columns are basically concentric footings. As you can see here, this column is placed exactly at the center of the footing. Getting? This column is placed exactly at the center of the footing. But whereas in this case, the column is at the edge of the footing. This column is at the edge of the footing. So this is called as eccentric footing. The one in which your center of gravity of the column and center of CG of the footing are in one line, it is concentric. So this is not in one line. CG of footing and column are not in one line. So it is eccentric. I hope it is clear. Yes, we'll go to next one. Next comes your column erection. After your footing is concreted. Sorry, I have not put footing concrete photograph, but you can see spillage of concrete here. And here you can see concrete footing to some extent. That photograph I am not having. I hope you will understand. It is nothing but just filling up of the excavated area with concrete up to an height of, let us say, 18 inch. 18 inch means 450 mm. You will be putting concrete. Upon that, you will be doing erection of column. Here is what you are seeing is basically form work. Form work is being prepared for all the columns, and here you can see is erection is going on. Here you can see erection is going on, and here you can see this form works are being prepared to make the shuttering ready. This Mohammad Ali Punekar is asking what is the proportion of concrete. The proportion of concrete is very different from what you study here. So for M20 you might have known the proportion as 1, 1.5 and 3, correct? So but actually inside it is not the proportion in which these people mix. These people mix according to their own wish. Correct? Labor will not listen to you. Labor will mix according to his own wish. But actually the ratio should be 1, 1.53. So why this ratio changes in case of site is this 1, 1.53. When I say this 1 is always 1 cement of bag. Correct? But what happens is when I go to place 1.5 and 3, that is my 1.5, which is my fine aggregate, I will not, or the labor will not place according to cement bag. What he will do is he will put according to something called as butti. Butti don't have to. He will not put according to cement bag. Whereas our one was 1 cement bag. What he will do is he will put 1 bag of cement, 6 butti or 6 butties of sand, and again around 8 butties of aggregate. This is what is basically the net site. So if you go there and say to labor 1.53, he will laugh at you. Getting it? I hope it is clear. So for a nominal mix, for a residential building, you have to put around, whether it is column, footing, whatever, around 1 bag of cement, 6 butties, 6 big butties of sand, and around 8 butties of 20 mm aggregate. In case whether the same structure is an apartment or a commercial building where you are expected to have around a strength of M25, you will be putting around 1:4:6. 1 bag of cement, 4 butties of fine aggregate, 6 butties of coarse aggregate. I hope it is clear. Next one, UCR masonry and filling. So somebody was asking UCR masonry. This is what UCR masonry looks like. This is what is UCR masonry, correct? And you can see here it is done only along the external wall, correct? The area which you see here is actually parking area. I will show you the plan in the next class of this building. This is actually parking area, so no footing or no structure will come here. So this is the external part of the building. So you can see UCR masonry here, correct? And as you can see here, using JCB, the soil is being filled up. Again, you can see it is a red soil, Muram soil. It is being filled up. So this here you can see this, even these footing excavations which we have done, those are also being filled up. I hope it is clear. The photographs are clear, I hope. Yes, everyone is present. Akash is asking how to calculate shuttering quantity. We'll do this once again in the estimation part. We'll try to cover your estimation also, how to calculate number of bars and all. So that we'll be doing in separate session. Here in this case, I am only giving you a brief introduction to construction process, estimation, planning. Next class, I am thinking of planning a 1 BHK and 2 BHK house for you, so that you will be able to plan a simple residential buildings. So this is UCR masonry and filling. I hope it is clear. You can even construct this UCR masonry inside the footings, inside the structure also. Like you can connect this UCR masonry here and here. You can construct wherever wall is coming, you can construct UCR masonry there also. That is not a problem. But only thing is it will increase your cost. So as you can see, soil filling, it is of another building. You can see whatever the space is left in between is being filled by soil. Clear? Yes, after filling what we'll do is, we'll do compaction. So once compacted, it may be labor or by machines. I will share you a video of how machine compacts, or using dumas, what we call popularly here, it is called as dumas. Using labor also it is done. I hope it is clear. Compaction. Next comes your plinth beam. So you can see plinth beam here. This was our actually UCR masonry level. Then this is my plinth beam. Correct? Wherever my wall is going to come, I will see a plinth beam there. There is no plinth beam here in this case because this one is a hall actually. This complete one is a hall, and here you can see a plinth beam actually. I don't know whether it is visible to you or you can see my cursor. You can see a pipe laying there. That is my plinth beam where I can see from this end till that end it is completely hall. So around 20 feet of hall is there. So that is completely a hall. So you will not see any plinth beam in between. Whereas here and all, here you will see plinth beam. I hope it is clear. Plinth beam level. So brickwork, as you can see here, brickwork is being done in 3 stages actually. This one is called as, what is this level called as? Here you can see what is this level called as. Sanjeevani madam, 0.6 meter gotalre. What should be 0.6 meter? Plinth beam depth you are asking? Yes, Mohammad Ali Pune, what should be the height of UCR? Height of UCR is basically not fixed. What I do is basically height of UCR, how I fix is, it is basically 3 feet from the road level. height of UCR is basically 3 feet from the road level, in front of site, whatever is the road level. Above that, I'll be keeping 3 feet UCR height. It is because in case of concrete road construction, the road level will increase by 1 feet. And in case of heavy rains and all, you don't expect the water, all the outside water coming inside your house. So that is why it is always better to have at least 2 feet height above road level, or 3 feet is what I do. 3 feet is perfect. So plinth beam, Sanjeevani madam asking, plinth beam is around 15 inch madam. In this case, since it is a residential building, it is 15 inch. But in case of commercial buildings, you have to provide as per design. Plinth beam is not dependent on, I don't know for what Bharat said soil properties, but the plinth beam will decide on the load which is coming. So now tell me, what is the height of the residential building? In to in, I am asking, from the floor level, that is your Vishal Malapnur, why plinth beam is provided? Plinth beam is provided basically to support your brickwork. You cannot place your brickwork directly on the, in a frame structure, I am telling you, in a frame structure, the load of the wall will come on the beam. These beams in other way carry these loads to the columns. Then columns will transfer this load to our footings, and footings again will transfer it to soil. I hope I am clear. Plinth beam. Yes, what is the height that is provided in to in, that is flooring to slab bottom? Yes, many are saying 10 feet, 3 meters or 10 feet. It is correct. Yes, Mansoor, Radhika, the Abdul Saunur, minimum 8 kilometers. Yes, 3 meters or 10 feet is right answer. 9 to 10 feet, many are saying, I don't think 9 to 10 feet or even 8 feet is also not right. For a comfortable living, you need at least 10 feet according to me, because you will be hoisting fan and all. If the height is very less, you will be having problem placing fan and all. I hope I am clear. 10 feet is minimum height. 10 feet is minimum height. So please keep 10 feet minimum. Shall we take a break or shall we continue? I think it's almost 1 hour now. Please let me know if you want to have a break or you want to continue. Continue. I hope everyone is yes, everyone is saying continue. So we'll continue. So if my floor to slab height, that is slab bottom height, is 10 feet, can I construct this 10 feet all together in one floor, or I need to split this brickwork in some parts to give it more stability? Yes, I had planned this for only half an hour. It is more than 1 hour now. Let us finish fast. I wanted to take a break, but we'll continue and wrap it up in some 15 or 20 minutes. So I want your answers fast. So I have to split this brickwork in terms of some parts, or I can construct this in one go. Yes, many of you are saying parts. Now tell me, what are these parts? Can we do brickwork after slab? Yeah, you can do brickwork after slab if it is a frame structure. But only thing is, there will be a crack between your columns and the brickwork which you construct later. So it is always preferred to construct your brickwork and the column together. So nobody is telling what are these parts. Yes, I have to break this brickwork in terms of parts. But what are these parts? Yes, as you can see here, the height of this brickwork is around 3 feet. The height of this brickwork is 3 feet. What is this concrete layer that you can see? What is it called? You can see some concrete layer here, around 2 inches concrete layer here. So what is this concrete layer? Yes, sill level. Yes, you are saying, you are right, Mubin, Taj and Bharat, the sill level. So this, you can please note down this. This sill level is of height 3 feet. Correct? There is a Vishala PCC lintel. Yeah, lintel bare no, PCC bare, Yaldo Kursa 3. PCC bed is what we place at the bottom of the footing. Lintel is not, you are running way too fast. Lintel in a munditri. Yes, understanding? I hope this is clear. This 3 feet is up to sill level. Then afterwards we will be again constructing brickwork. This is my brick. Okay, this is my first brick in brickwork. After this I will be again constructing this amount of brickwork. This is actually 4 feet. This is also called as lintel level. At 7 feet, this is my lintel level. I hope it is clear. 3 feet of sill level. Then again this 4 feet height up to lintel level. In this 4 feet, we place this windows. I hope it is clear. These windows are placed in this 4 feet of height. Wherever you want, you can avoid this 4 feet of brickwork here. Clear? I don't know if it is clear or not. I'll explain again. On top of plinth beam, 3 feet of brickwork is done till your sill level. Once I place a 2 inch or 3 inch thickness of concrete, then again I will continue my brickwork, and wherever I need windows, as you can see in this case, I am going to place here this marking. You can see here. Here I am going to make a showcase. So if I am making a showcase, I don't need brickwork here. So I am marking this and telling my labor that I need not have brickwork here. This will be an open space. All in on this side and on this side, brickwork will be coming there. Yes, so similarly in the outer side or outer external walls, you will be placing your windows. Correct? So total feet is 7 feet now. At 7 feet, I will be placing my lintel. Clear? Here you can see I am placing my lintel. The concrete is in underway. So here you can see it is completed half. So this is my basically lintel. The straight line you can see here is my lintel. Now tell me why I have to provide this lintel. Why I cannot avoid this lintel. Why lintel is necessary for me? It will provide me a break in the brickwork also. It will provide stability to the brickwork also. But apart from that, what is the reason? Why I have to provide brickwork? Sorry, lintel. Yes, Akash is right. Support for above wall and correct for windows and doors. Cracking doesn't continue. Correct. Above windows. Yes, you are right. As you can see in this photograph here, as you can see here, can you see a window here? And here you can see a showcase. Correct. I have left space for showcase, but I have to construct wall here. On top of this, I will be constructing wall. So to take this wall load, I will be providing lintel. This lintel is nothing but a form of your RC beam itself. Correct? It is a form of your RC beam which will be carrying load. Only thing is the span is very less here. Around 1 meter, 1.5 meter is the span. So on this, I will be placing my brickwork. So again, you can see here these are the gaps. Correct? And here you can see what you can see here is loft. Loft is something which is provided on top of your toilets and bathrooms for placing of the storage or whatever is for making storage space basically. Correct? And what you can see here is called as chajja for the protection of your windows or providing shade to the windows. Is it clear? So in this picture you will be understanding much better. So here you can see earlier we have seen plinth beam. This is my plinth beam. Clear? And in this case this is my sill level. In this case this is my sill level. This is my lintel level. Correct? This is my lintel level and this is my slab level. Clear? Again in the first floor, this is my beam, slab beam or roof beam. This is my sill. Again I will be placing lintel here. So this is my window, as you can see here. Here you can see a cantilever slab here, cantilever slab, and this part is basically my staircase. You can see two columns here, 1 and 2. You can see two columns here. These are my staircase. To support this staircase, I have provided a beam here, and this is my cantilever landing here. This is my basically landing part, correct? And this projection you can see here will act as a balcony to the residents. This part is basically balcony. And these are the front windows. We will see actually how this building looks after the completion also. Then we will go to the next one. This is how chudging and shelf bar bending is done. Here you can see a window here. You can see a window here, and we are placing a lintel to support the wall above. This is how your centering of your chajja is done. You can see bars here. Why I am showing this bars are, you need this number of bars for your estimation purpose. You need this number of bars for estimation purpose. And here you can see rings are there. Here also it is much better. Rings are there. These rings are usually 6 mm bars, and longitudinal bars are usually 10 mm bars. These are 6 mm bars. Longitudinal bars are usually 10 mm bars at the top and the bottom. Bharat Shade is asking, sir, is it good to fill columns after brickwork? It is actually good, if I have to say, up to lintel level. Up to lintel level and before slab. First what we do is we construct brickwork, and the reason for doing brickwork first is if I have completed brickwork around this column, I will have to do shuttering on only 2 sides, because on other 2 sides I will be having brickwork. So on the other 2 sides if I do, and if there is no centering, there will be no cracks between brickwork and column, because whatever part is left in between the brickwork and the column is filled by the concrete throughout. I hope I am clear. You have to imagine a little bit if you have not seen it. This concrete will go and directly go in the space between brickwork and that column bars, so there will not be any cracks and all. So in some person was asking earlier, can I place brickwork after the column? What happens is, once the concreting is done, column concrete is done, if you go to construct brickwork later, this brickwork and that column will not join. Even if you plaster, it will not join. It will always be there as a crack. A single line, small hairline crack will be there for life. You cannot join these two. But if we construct brickwork first and then put shuttering on other 2 sides and put concrete, there will not be any crack. So next one, as you see here, chajja and shelf. As you can see here, this part goes like this and bent is here. You can see a small bend here. I don't know if it is clear in the picture or not. It is small bent up here. Here you can see brickwork, correct? Brickwork is there. Here it is again. Centering is provided because it is door here. A door is there in the bottom, so you will not see any brickwork here. So this is how support is provided here, and this is our centering plates. These centering plates are of the size 2 feet by 2.5 feet. So this is how it is done, and this is for window chajja. So this nobody will tell you. You have to tell your labor what you have to do. So I hope from this session you are getting some basic knowledge of how things are done. Next comes your slab. Somebody was asking thickness of the slab. Thickness of the slab in this case was 5 inch, but however you have to decide on design depending on your slab parameters, that is span in x direction and y direction. I hope you have studied in 5th semester. MU limiting you have to check. Then if that thickness is fine, then you can go ahead or you have to revise it. So this is how centering of the slab looks like before placing of the reinforcement. Yes, how many of you are actually present now? I want to see how many of you are actually present. Everyone is understanding? I think many of you are 4th semester also. I don't know if you are there. I'm sorry if you don't understand some things which I am telling. You will be learning in the further classes. Yes, I received only 25 replies. Okay, we'll continue. So can you see here, this slab is being sloped. This is not in one line. Can you see some sloping here? Here it is coming down, and again here it has gone up. Correct? So there is a external pipe which is provided where this person is standing actually. So this is called as sloping basically. What I have done is sloping. So after I place concrete, uniform concrete of 5 inch thickness, the concrete by default will be in a sloped shape. Correct? By default it will be sloped. So in case of rains and all, so you can have a free flow of water. So there will not be any stagging of water on the slab, which will again cause leakage problems. I hope it is clear. It is better to always provide slope in the centering itself before placing concrete. If you place the concrete in one level, you will not be making way for the water to flow, which will again cause leakage problems. I hope you are understanding. As I said, these centering plates are 2 feet by 2.5 feet, and again whatever space is left in between is covered by this wooden planks. These are wooden planks. So I will show you in the next picture how exactly it is done. Yes, here you can see the actual bar bending and the electrical conduiting which is concealed in the slab. The fan which is placed above you is connected by these pipes inside the slabs. You will be placing wires in this, and this is how your fans are getting electricity. This is invisible once you place the concrete. So I hope it is clear. So can anybody tell me whether it is a one-way slab or a two-way slab? This panel, look at this panel, the first panel, and tell me whether it is a one-way slab or a two-way slab. It is one-way slab or two-way slab. Please tell me. Yes, many are saying one-way slab. How do you decide whether it is a one-way slab or two-way slab? ಮೊಹಮ್ಮದ್ ನೀ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬಾಪ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ನಿಂಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಡೌಟ್ ಐತಿ ಅದು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ನೀವು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಬಿಟ್ಟಾರಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೈಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತು ಮೇಸ್ತ್ರಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ನೋಡ್ರಿ bars are only in one direction ಎರಡು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅದಾವಲ್ರಿ bars are placed in both the direction x and y direction. So how to decide whether it is one way slab or two way slab? Yes, y by x okay, ly by lx is okay, I understand, but looking at the bars, how can you tell me? Since I am not having ly by lx with you now, just by looking at the bars, how can I decide whether it is a one way slab or two way slab? It is a very basic question. That is what I was telling. Yes, Mubin Taj is actually right. Main bars are in only one direction. So how do I decide main bars is basically, as you can see here, cranking. Correct? You can see some cranking here. This cranking is provided only in this direction, that is shorter direction. As you can see, this is perpendicular direction to us. What I am looking, this perpendicular direction to us is longer direction, and this is my smaller direction. So these bars are cranked. These bars are cranked in shorter direction. And can you see any cranking here? In this picture, I don't see any cranking here. Correct? I don't see any cranking. As you can see, this bar goes straight along till the end. But whereas in this case, you can take any bar, it is being cranked up. You can see here alternate bars are cranked up. Clear? So from this cranking of bars in only one direction, I can say that it is one-way slab. Correct? If there was any cranking on this side and the other side which we are not able to see, then it would have been two-way slab. I hope I am clear. Anybody wants me to explain this again, you can please tell me. Yes, can you distinguish any slab now? If you go to any site, can you tell me what is one way and what is two way? Yes, I'll explain once again. Yes, please listen here. Please listen. As you can see here, shorter direction is this one. As you can see by the visual itself, I don't know the measurement but by the gift of God, I can see that it is shorter direction, and in this direction it is longer one. So as you can see here, as you know, as basics your knowledge of civil engineering, your main reinforcement is always placed along shorter direction of the slab panel. So this is my shorter direction, and as you can see, the bars are cranked in only one direction. This bar is cranked like this, bar is cranked like this. You don't see any crank here, correct? By cranking I mean this bent up of bars, correct? This is bending. This bent up of bars, you don't see anything here, correct? So that is what is called as cranking. So if I see this cranking here, this by this way I can decide that it is one way slab. If I see any cranking here, it would have been a two-way slab, correct? Why we have to provide, why we are bending in only one direction, why we are not doing it in both directions? This is again matter of design, which you want, if you want, we will be doing in design class. Yes, see, I'll explain once again. In short, I'll explain. If I see cranking of the bars in only one direction, let us say this is my shorter direction, then it is one way slab. If I see this cranking in both the direction, in this direction also and in this direction also, it is two-way slab. Clear? Cranking in one direction, one way slab. Cranking in both the directions, two-way slab. It is as simple as that. So I hope if you go to any slab now, looking at the cranking, you can tell whether it is two-way slab or one-way slab. Correct? So when I should be providing two-way slab, please tell me everybody when I should provide two-way slab. Leave Ly by Lx. What is the next step? Depending on Ly by Lx, how do you decide two-way or one-way? Your Ly by Lx should be, for two-way slab, your Ly by Lx should be. Yes, I want the answer from everybody. For you to provide a two-way slab, your Ly by Lx should be. Yes, not everyone is replying. Srinath is not replying. Rashmi M is not replying. Atul, Arpita, not replying. Yes, correct. As many of you are saying, if your Ly by Lx is less than 2. Yes, okay. I'm sorry if you are 4th semesters. You may not be knowing. You will be learning that in 5th semester. I'm sorry. So again, for your information, you will be getting you are getting advanced information now. So if your Ly by Lx, again, what is Ly by Ly and what is Lx, you will not understand. Ly is your longer dimension. Lx is your shorter direction. If this is less than 2, then it will be designing that slab as two-way slab. Just have this information, you will be learning it in next classes. So this is how beam centering looks like. These are my longitudinal bars, which you see here. 1, 2 and 3 are my longitudinal bars. 1, 2 and 3. At the bottom you can see 4 bars. You can, since it is getting overlapped here, you can see only 4 bars. So 4 bars of 12 mm at the bottom, 3 bars of 12 mm at the top. So here you can see how this slab bar goes through the beam bar. So from this you can understand whatever load comes on the slab is transferred nothing but to your beam. So from beam, as you can see in this picture, this is a bare bar bending. So first thing after the centering, you need to understand first thing that is done is bar bending of beam. After beam bar bending is done, then only your bar bending of slab starts. So here you can see the bar bending of beam. Again, as you can see here, slab from load comes from slab to beam. From beam to again it goes to column. As you can see here, all these beams will be resting on your columns. I hope it is clear. Yes, is it clear? Next one. This is how slab concreting is done. So this is actually, you can see the top part here. Yes, you can see this is called as lift. The machine I'll show you in the next picture. This is called as lift. So this is what transports the mixed mixed concrete. Why we have to do transporting is basically we will be having the raw materials at the bottom of our site on the ground. All your sand, aggregate cement is placed on the sand on the land level, that is ground level. We will be mixing it through a mixing machine. Then using this lift, this is again tilting here, as you can see. Using this lift, the concrete will be transported to the top. Here the top portion you can see. Again, it is getting covered because of some person. So here you can see it is transporting. In the next picture, it will be much clear for you. Yes, this is my lift. As you can see, this is my lift. This is my bucket, and this mixing machine, I hope everybody of you have seen. Yes, have you seen? Have you seen this machine? Yes, that machine is used for mixing. And again, this concept of lifting, whether it is 2 floors, 3 floors, 4 floors, the same concept of lifting goes in the site. This next one, slab centering, many of you are asking. So here you can see this is how slab centering is done. Jacks can be used instead of these wooden mundas. These are called actually mundas, and as you can see here, at every 3 feet this support is provided. This is how beam is done, and jacks can be provided. And after de-shuttering, this looks something like this. I hope it is clear. This is when centering is there, and after de-shuttering, this is how the structure looks like. Clear? So after how many days I have to de-shutter the slab? Can anybody tell me? After how many days I have to do de-shuttering? After how many days I have to do de-shuttering? Just only one person was right, Mansoor Sheikh. Yes, Sanjeevani is right. Basically, the practice here is 21 days actually. After 21 days, you can de-shutter the slab, not before 21 days. But what people here are doing is, they start de-shuttering even at 15 days. I suggest you to wait for 21 days. It is a matter of fact that only after 21 days, concrete would have achieved its around the 90% of strength. Correct? So for it to achieve 100%, we have to wait for 28 days. So 90% of strength is also fine for us. So after 21 days, we have to do de-shuttering. Then we will be curing slab. So curing is done to slab by the method of ponding. Ponding is you basically pond the slab, that is water the slab and make it stand there for 21 days. As you can see here, this is the beam, and with the slab, these 2 layers of brickwork is done just to hold the water. I hope it is clear. Next comes your staircase. Yes, any doubt with respect to slab, you can please ask. If it is raining, then on the day of slab or what? If it is raining, no problem. Anyway, I have to do curing to it. On the day of slab, you have to avoid choosing a day where you are expecting rain. Correct? It is always better to avoid rain, and if it rains also, you have to do some precaution. You have to take some precaution to cover the slab by using tarpaulin and all. If nothing is possible, then you leave it as it is. On the next day, you have to take some cement-rich mortar and do plastering and leave some cement water on that slab to strengthen the slab. The first basic precaution that you have to take is you have to avoid putting slab on rainy days. It's better not to take the risk, even if it is roof slab. So next one, staircase. So tell me, what is the riser and thread which is advisable for staircase? Akash is asking for how many days ponding should be done. It should be done for all the 21 days. Right from the next day of slab till the 21-day de-shuttering, you have to keep the water on the slab. 9-inch thread. Illo 9-inch illa. 9-inch is basically compromised. So what is the standard for residential buildings? Standard thread and riser. Yes, actually Bharat is right. 15 centimeter and 25 centimeter. 15 or 150 mm is basically riser, or 6 inch. 6 inch is my riser, or 10 inch is my thread, or 250 mm. Yes, Vasant is right there. 250 mm is my thread, 150 mm is my riser. The basic thing in this is you may get confused sometimes. You have to just remember the shorter dimension is your riser. Correct? Riser is always your shorter dimension. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಸದಾನಂದ್ ಉಲ್ಟಾ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ 150 mm is your riser, 250 mm is your thread. So this type of confusions may happen to anybody. So you have to remember that you will be lifting your leg for a shorter dimension. Correct? You have to lift your leg for riser. So that should be your shorter dimension, which is 150 mm. So next we'll go to next one. So as you can see here, this for this staircase, I have not provided any column here. Correct? On this side. So how is it standing? I hope my question is clear. To support the staircase on the other side, on this side, free end, I have not provided any column. So how is it standing? And here you can see, just tell me answer for this, then I'll tell you the next question. In the beam, lintel, beam from column, okay, beam. Okay, many of you are telling beam, correct. As you can see here, in this picture you can see a beam at the bottom, and here you can see this beam here. In the other picture you can see beam here. So what I have basically done is I have taken this beam from the inside column. Here is one column, there will be another column on the at the back of this column. So I have taken the beam from there, and I have crossed this beam as a I have casted this or designed this beam as a cantilever beam, and I am providing here. The similar is being done here, correct. As you can see, there is a gap between the soil level and the as you can see, there is difference between soil level and the staircase landing. So it is basically plinth beam level. On the plinth beam itself, I have provided the staircase. So riser is again 6 inch, thread is 10 feet, 10 inch, and height is around 10 to 11 feet. Correct. Here also you can see brickwork, sill level, window is fixed, 4 feet height of window. 4 feet height is actually standard. Window height 4 feet is standard. Then you can see lintel here. Then brickwork of 3 feet. So 4 plus 3, 3 plus 4, 7, 7 plus 3, 10 feet height of internal height. So this here you can see this is cantilever part. Correct? This is cantilever part. You have to design the slab as cantilever slab. I hope it is clear. Any doubt with respect to these photos you can ask. Any doubt with respect to photos you can please ask. Many of you might have seen these buildings, or you might have gone through these buildings, but you might not have paid attention to its structural items. If you are going outside, if you are looking at some very fancy buildings and all, please go through it in terms of where this person has placed column, where this person has placed beam. Even when you are at malls or some public buildings, just look at those surfaces, means in the roof and all, how these are. Basically malls are nowadays being provided with truss and all. Just go through the structural details of a building. As a civil engineer, it should be interesting to see where you are providing beams and all. You might learn many things from that. Correct? So next one will go. This is how electrical conduiting is done before plaster, after the brickwork and slab is completed. So whatever slab we saw, in the slab we saw some conduiting. So from there we will be taking this conduiting and providing wherever you need buttons. This is how button is being provided. Correct? This is panel actually now, steel panel. On this, once the wiring is done, buttons will be fixed. Next, coming to plaster, the same building which we put line out, for which we put footing and all. So this is how it looks like now. Here you can see plaster. So you can please note down, external plaster is being done in 2 coats. Internal plaster is being done in 1 coat. I hope I am clear. External external plaster is done in 2 coats. Internal plaster is done in 1 coat. As you can see here, the person doing here is, in the top it is second coat, whereas in the bottom it is first coat. Can you see here, it is rough. It is intentionally made rough so that another layer can be plastered on it. Whereas you can see here, it is smooth here, and you can see this putty and all, it is finished. Correct? As you can see here, it is finished. At the bottom, it is rough here. Correct? At the bottom, it is rough. Once the plastering is completed, it will look something like this. Correct? And these are all called as SAR. This is called as, in local terms, the temporary support structure for labours. This structure made up of wood is called as SAR, and this part is headroom. You can see headroom here. The slab is being casted, so supporting is being done. Brickwork is there. This is headroom. Staircase headroom. I hope it is clear. Next comes your RC water tank. The water tank which we had seen earlier. So 4-inch thickness of brickwork. So it is always advisable to provide RC water tank. You can do it of brickwork also, 9-inch brickwork wall. So you can do it of brickwork also, but it is advisable to do RC wall because it is more sturdier. Correct? Roots of any plants or any other pressure will not be affecting this RC walls because concrete will take that load. So first step is place this 4-inch wall on the boundary, place bars in both X and Y direction, then do centering like this, as you can see in this picture. Do centering and pour concrete. Pouring of concrete is going on here. As you can see, concrete is filled. Pouring of concrete. Then after plaster, this is how this tank looks like. After this, slab will be placed on this. Correct? Getting? Next, further what you see is done something like this. Formwork, steel. On that you will be placing a thick layer of double coat of plaster. Then somebody was asking flooring. This is just an example. You can see thousands of types of floorings. This is called as granite flooring. The width is 3 feet. You can see some joint here. The width is 3 feet of each slab. They are placed. This part, the flooring which is attached here to the wall is called as skirting. It is just to avoid any dirt. This is called as skirting. This is flooring. Correct? Then painting. Painting again, you can please note down. Internal, we do internal painting. We do after the plaster. After the plaster, internal painting, we do 3 coats of wall care. 3 coats of wall care, 1 coat of internal primer, and 2 coats of paint. Internal painting I am telling, you can please, if you want, you can please note down. Internal, 3 coats of wall care, 3 coats of wall care, 1 coat of internal primer, 1 coat of internal primer, and again 2 coats of internal paint. Whereas the external we had done 2 times of plaster, 2 coats of plaster. Upon that, sponge finish. 2 coats of plaster you had already done. Upon that, sponge finish will be done, and on that, 1 coat of, on the plaster, 1 coat of external primer and 2 coats of external paint. So here in this left side pic, you can see primer is being done. Primer is done. Primer is usually white, so primer is done. On the left hand side, you can see a finished building. Painting is almost complete. Correct? Here grill will be coming, so that part is left. So I wish to end here 2 hours of beating your head there. So if you have any doubts or if you have any suggestions or any comments, you can please note me down. You can tell me. Just thank you all for patient hearing there. Yes, I am planning for in the next session. I am planning to have a help you teach planning 1 BHK and 2 BHK house. So if you are interested, you can please let Bharat know if you are really interested. If it is helping to you. So if you are Vastu, I will tell you what Vastu is. You can plan according to that. I am not a Vastu expert, but I know basic Vastu and why it is done. So I'll be telling you the basics of Vastu also for you to be commercially accepted. So if you are interested, you can please give your names to Bharat. I will let you know the timings and all. Yes, any suggestions or any doubts? 2 minutes will have, or any other topics that you want me to cover, you can please let me know. Sir, on the last floor,
ಹಲೋ ಪ್ರತೀಕ್ ಸರ್.
Hello,
yes, sir.
Pratik sir.
ಹಾ, ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ರಿ.
Yes,
Close
thank you
ಮಾಡ್ರಿ.
all.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
Thank you, sir.